Here is the problem statement for you. A cloud-based gaming service needs to manage its configuration settings, such as game display settings, audio levels, and user preferences. These settings should be globally accessible throughout the application, ensuring that there is a single set of settings even if multiple games or services request them concurrently.
Hi. So let me start this discussion by saying that I always believe that design pattern is not anything new things to know. It is a step-by-step process to solve any problems with the best possible template you can produce as a good software engineer or a programmer. Let me prove my analogy here with a step-by-step progress. Let's say my first step says always that identify the key requirements of the given problem. Now, how will you do it? By just breaking down the given problem statement and try to find the key requirement. And let's say when I dissect this problem statement, I can able to fetch that the global access to setting is requirement number one, key requirement number one. The second key requirement is concurrency control, and third is real-time updates across the application. Okay. So these are the three key requirements I am able to get it. Now the next step is once you realize that key requirement or finalize the key requirement, the next step would be what you can able to think the naive solution from where you want to start. So let's start by proposing an initial naive solution. And my first solution here is to design a simple class with a static members to hold settings because that static member is accessible to everyone. I hope it will be started from here. Now, please note that if I assume this approach, I do find immediately few issues in this approach. And the issues are, it is not thread safe, the first issue. The second issue, it does not allow for any kind of initialization logic or cleanup logic in the case of if application shut down unprocessingly, like unwantedly, if your application is going to shut down, or in that case, definitely your code is not going to clean up your presumed memory taken by these variables. So these are the few issues you can say always, right? Now you reached up to second step. You propose the solution, but also you found you also see at the same time you also get some issues which is you just listed down here. What would be the next step? Next step is definitely going to be a step in which you will try to remove these issues, whatever you found right now. Okay, so let's deep dive on the solution part of the founded issue in next segment of video. So now in step 3, our priority is to improve the initial proposed solution, right? How do you do it? Introduce the idea of encapsulating the settings in an object to manage its life cycle better and allow for more complex behavior. Create a non-static class with instance method for managing settings. Now the next pending issue is how to make this as a thread safe. Otherwise, it will generate multiple instances which indirectly generate several other issues like inconsistent state, resource corruption or misuse, etc. Right? So as a step 4, my target is to ensure a single instance. Let's discuss the need to ensure that this class has only one instance. How do you do it? Okay. So implement a method that ensure only one instance of the class can be created, possibly using a static method that returns an static instance, right? So until now we covered 4 steps, correct? And we reached the solution where we make sure that only one instance is created of a class. But can you assure that your solution is thread safe? I don't think so, right? If you look at your solution until whatever you reached along with me, you quickly realize that no, my solution is still not thread safe. So let's move to the next segment of this video where I will adopt step 5 and will try to solve multi-threading issue of our solution. I hope it makes sense to you. Let's meet in next segment of this video. All right. So do you think that your solution is thread safe? No. Your solution is still not thread safe. So let's move on to step 5 where I will solve the thread safe issue, right? So let's improve your code in step 5. Add a locking mechanism around the instance creation logic to ensure that only one thread can create the instance at a time. And this step is also known as double check in the architectural community. One more important point you should mention here is that your instance creation must follow the lazy instantiation. Why? there is a possibility that your instance is created without uses, and that will make resource waste in some scenarios. So as a best practice, as a good programmer, you must implement lazy instantiation, and that is my next step activity. So in step 6, I'm going to improve my code with lazy instantiation to optimize resource uses so that instance is created upon first use. Okay, so after these steps, like step 6, I have already covered. Now let me share you the code or the code snippet until we reached, so that you can see that what would be our code solution at this point of time. Okay, so let's come back in the next segment of video where I will show you my code until we reached by executing all these steps mentioned in above video segment, right? So let's come back on that segment. Welcome back. So if you look at the code which you have written or you have reached until the point, and if you look at the UML design standard UML diagram for Singleton pattern, you will notice that your code is almost equal to your UML design diagram for Singleton pattern. It is excellent, right? And by the way, it is a wow moment for you that without knowing the design pattern even, you reached at the same spot, which is exactly is the Singleton pattern. That's the beauty of a good programmer, a good software engineer, a skillful software engineer. Without knowing standard pattern, you reached at the same spot. Congratulations. You learned your first creational design pattern, which is the first and entry pattern for everyone who is starting to learn design pattern. So finally, let me emphasize of the key features of Singleton pattern. And those are, first, a private constructor. Second, a static method for global access. Third, a thread-safe lazy instantiation process. And fourth one is a static instance member. And these all features, these all key attributes is already present in your code. Congratulations on your reaching first design pattern successfully. So I hope that by now you definitely realize that knowing design pattern or mugging design pattern is not at all required. It is a skill of every software engineer who is just following best practices, which usually design principle is providing to you or giving to you as an arsenal in your skill set, right? So if you follow best practices, if you follow right approach in your problem solution, you will definitely reach, by here and there small tweaking you might need, but then you definitely reached at the same spot where the design pattern is giving you, I mean, at the same spot you will reach if you know the design pattern, you will try to solve that problem. Or if you follow the coding struct, best coding practices, good skills in programming, then also you will reach at the same spot where design pattern will reach. So in my suggestion, like as a experienced engineer, I always believe that design pattern is not required to mug up or required to learn very differently. It is a basic thing for every engineer should know, and just do the coding as per their skillful way and using the best practices, using the best design principles they know. So just follow that instruction. You will reach at the same spot where design pattern will bring you. So let's quickly focus on advantage and potential drawbacks of this pattern. Advantages are single access point for configuration setting. Memory is efficient as only one instance exists, and then lazy loading and thread safety is ice on the cake, right? So let's try to focus a little bit about the potential drawbacks of this pattern also. The first one is global access can lead to hard to track bugs. If you remember old days, global variable is almost considered as a crime. So the same way, this also somehow near about global variable kind of things is producing. So that's why it is little bit difficult to track the bugs in this scenario also. Okay. The second drawback is the Singleton pattern can make unit tests challenging. And the same manner which earlier I discussed, this testing is also a little difficult. Okay. Finally, let's summarize with the conclusion. You have gone from identifying a problem to iteratively developing a solution that manages global setting efficiently. The resulting design pattern, which emerges as the best solution for the problem, was the Singleton pattern. I hope that I am able to convince you that there's the solution, and the solution which you, even though you don't know the pattern, you reached at the same spot where anybody who knows design pattern will reach. And this is the way you should learn the design pattern. Never start with the pattern, always start with problem, go to the solution, follow the best practices, tweak your code here and there for improvement, performance improvement, other things, and you definitely will reach at the same spot where even the person who knows design pattern will reach. And for you, nothing is mug up. That is the one good advantage point for you, right? So I hope that you definitely have learned many new things. At least the way I am seeing the design pattern, it help you in the longer run. This is the way you ever learn any design pattern long lasting. You don't need to mug up anything in design pattern. You always has to follow the best practices which you think a good programmer can do. So by at last, I'm just trying to say you thank you for patiently reaching at this spot, and I hope you definitely have takeaways today. So always remember those takeaways, and please, if you think that this content helped you in any way, then do like, give us feedback, and at the end, I'm requesting you to subscribe the channel, pass this channel to your peers, your friend circles, your community, so that this channel will reach to the maximum people. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye. Take care. See you in the next video. Thank you. Thank you for completing this video. And I hope that you definitely have learned something which will help you in your system design interview. Hope to see you in next video with new concept and skills needed for the system design interview. By then, keep learning, keep improving, and keep sharing your knowledge.